Hello, this is Augie Macro with Cryptid Creatures. Today we are not going to talk about one particular cryptid, but rather the documentation of cryptids in film and literature throughout history. Humans have been documenting mysterious phenomena since they could put paint to the walls of caves. Over time, this has developed into many aspects of our societies, including our religions, our folklore, and our fiction. Humans have told tales of mysterious creatures since the dawn of recorded history, and the first known records of these tales are from cave paintings dating back nearly 250,000 years BC. As humans traveled across the world, you could follow their mythologies very clearly. For example, about 65,000 BC, the first rock paintings by Aboriginals can be discovered. And approximately 30,000 years ago, we discovered the very first Native American cultures and monuments depicting creatures such as thunderbirds and Bigfoot. By approximately 5,500 BC, we find the very first known civilization, the Sumerians, and their many petroglyphs and cuneiform texts of their mythologies. At about 3,100 BC, we discover the very first ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs telling of their mythologies. By about 1300 BC, we discover the very first Greek writings of their mythologies. By about 1200 to 165 BC, we find the writings of the Old Testament, which tell of many strange beasts such as the Leviathan and Behemoth. As we come into the Common Era, many religions and mythologies disappear as Christianity spreads throughout the Roman Empire at about 313 AD. At about 500 AD, we enter the Middle Ages, where the Christianization of many cultures becomes apparent. Bestiaries, which are books of animals that they knew at the time, and Bibles become extremely popular, and they depict many of the creatures of mythology as demonic or divine. At about 1400 AD, we enter the Age of Exploration, where Europeans are traveling the globe and discovering many new lands, such as Australia and the New World. In their travels, they discover new cultures that tell of new creatures, such as thunderbirds and sea serpents. As we move into the modern age, science and logic versus faith and belief become more prominent deciding factors in many of these creatures. A lot of them are now considered fables, while others have been discovered to be real, living creatures. Because of these new scientific innovations and revolutions, a new genre of literature is born: science fiction. As science fiction becomes more popular, starting with the writings of Mary Shelley, Jules Verne, and H.G. Wells, all the way up to modern time, people become more aware of these subjects and phenomena, which then leads to an increase in sightings. Take, for instance, the 1950s, where an increase in UFO sightings occurred, as well as an increase in more outlandish UFO films. Is there a connection? We may never know. In 1972, The Legend of Boggy Creek is released. It is now known to be one of the most well-known and favored cryptid docudramas in history. It tells the tale of the Fouke monster, a Bigfoot-like creature from a small town in Arkansas, and the havoc it wreaks. In recent years, authors, researchers, and investigators such as Lauren Coleman, Cliff Barrickman, and the crew from Small Town Monsters have brought cryptids to the forefront. This has piqued the interest of a whole new generation of cryptid researchers such as myself. Recently, I had the opportunity to visit Monster Fest in Canton, Ohio, a festival put on by Small Town Monsters, one of the most prominent cryptid documentary companies of today.
My name is Seth Breedlove, and I run a company called Small Town Monsters, and we make movies about cryptozoology and the paranormal around the United States. We've been doing it since 2014. and we started as a company that was basically just me, and we now have a staff of like 8 people, and we're kind of centered around the country. So there's a lot of us, and it just keeps growing. We do book publishing and that kind of thing now too.
How did you first become interested in cryptozoology?
I don't have a cool origin story. I worked really boring medical billing jobs, and it was a formative time in my life where I was just bored all the time, and because of that I got into cryptozoology. That's the short version. The longer version is that I had a friend, Don Marchand, who I used to run the soundboard at my church with, and he for some reason thought I was already into cryptozoology, so he burned me like a DVD with a bunch of cryptozoology documentaries on it, and that's one of the things that got me into it.
What would you say your favorite cryptid is?
It's Bigfoot. It's Bigfoot. There's more to that topic than a lot of the other stuff to me. But I do really love like lake monsters, Mothman.
What would you say your favorite documentary to film was?
Of mine?
Yeah.
My son is obsessed. He's 6 years old. He's obsessed with our Flatwoods Monster documentary. And I've actually come to really appreciate that movie just from watching and rewatching it with him. So that's one. I really like Terror in the Skies. Terror in the Skies is also like a true cryptozoology movie. So that's probably the one.
Are there any cryptids you're planning on documenting in the future?
Yeah, we've got a couple Dogman movies coming out this year. We're doing a movie about Chupacabra, and we have a couple of Bigfoot movies, and then we've got a Goatman movie coming out next year. So there's a lot.
What's your specific opinion on Bigfoot and those sorts of creatures?
I set Bigfoot apart from a lot of like cryptozoology. So I'm a big proponent of Bigfoot's existence because I've seen one. I think it's some sort of unidentified ape. I don't know what I think of a lot of the other cryptids, but the Bigfoot I always set aside.
If you were to give advice to a starting cryptozoologist, what would it be?
I would say go into it with an open mind and invest yourself in it and stay passionate.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I'm Jason. I've been with Small Town Monsters off and on for 8-9 years.
I'm Adam, so I did some acting in Momo and Jersey Devil, and then did a couple of the On the Trail of Bigfoot and UFO documentaries.
What's it like to be a part of the Small Town Monsters crew?
A lot of fun. We get to go places that never would have expected, and just hang out with friends and make movies, so can't really complain.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's turned into a second family for me. I'm from southeastern Tennessee, so a lot of these guys are up here in Ohio, and then happenstance met Seth, and then Jason and Zach and the rest of the crew. They're buddies now. So even if we're not together for months or years, we come back and it just feels like we just keep going. So it's fun. It's great. It's a family.
What would you say that your favorite documentary to be part of making was?
For me, easily it was Momo. That was actually the first time he and I worked together. I got to write with and for Adam, and yeah, it was just a ton of fun. We had a few really crazy nights of filming, and it was a lot of just learning on the fly.
Yeah,
very intense.
It was. I'm just gonna echo what he said. Momo for me, it was a blast because it was a different kind of movie. The way that Jason wrote it and the idea behind it was different, with some narrative thrown in and some kind of a throwback to some older, more campy horror movie type stuff. It was a blast. That was a lot of fun.
Mark Maskey and Seth were also co-writers on that one, so it was a big group effort.
How exactly did you become part of all of this?
Just from being friends with Seth, pretty much. I didn't really have any sort of presence in the filmmaking or cryptozoology world, but Seth, Zach, and I have been friends for 20 years now.
I think there's a through line between at least several of us that are in and around STM is music. Like we all either play music or just love music. And I was also into Bigfoot. My dad got me into it. And on Seth's Facebook page, he had indicated he liked a band that I was obsessed with, and I was like, well, Bigfoot and the same band, like, went through there, and then ended up going on a trip to look for Bigfoot in Oklahoma with Seth the next summer. So, and then it kind of stuck. I don't know if they tried to get rid of me, but I'm still here.
If you were to give advice to anyone getting into this business, what would it be?
Make your own stuff. Just start making it. Don't wait for opportunities. Making your own films, your own series, it's the best way to get to know people in the field and to get your work out there. When somebody sees that you can make it happen on your own, it's the biggest possible vote of confidence you can have.
Don't be afraid to reach out and try to make connections either. I listened to Seth's Sasquatch podcast religiously when it first started, and I would have never thought. I mean, I'd be walking my dog listening to Seth on a podcast, and now Seth and Jason are my best buddies. Like when I come up here, I know I've got family and people that care about me up here and get to go do fun things together. So don't be afraid to just put yourself out there and see what happens. You never know.
I'm on Instagram at Jason Utes. I'm also the social media manager for Small Town Monsters.
Yeah, I have the weird side of normal is on Instagram. So that's when I do update it, that's where it would be.
Thank you for having me be a part of this.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I will be returning to MonsterFest next year, and I hope to see you as well. But in the meantime, subscribe to our new YouTube channel and tell your friends. Cryptid Creatures is brought to you by the Kitty Petters Union, Cobble Sound Recording Company, and my dad's show, Meet the Pressers. This is Augie Macro with Cryptid Creatures, signing off.